Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the second edition of the Mr. Fun Tilton Talk Show special. Second week now. Chris and Nick still unavailable. Best wishes to them, and hopefully see them very soon on Monday nights for the regular slot. So where do we start? What a week! We on last week's show, having a discussion about the Brighton game, possibly get something from that. You know, do we attack? Do we defend? What's the game plan going to be? What's the system going to be? And then 3 minutes in, and we're 1-0 down, and all sort of game plan is out of the window. Massively disappointing. I'm sure that was definitely not what was in the plan. So then where do we go from there? You know, by all accounts, had a lot of possession, lot of the game, didn't really look out of it. But once again, you go 3 minutes after half time and we're 2-0 down, and that really is game over at Brighton. Then we mentioned about how good they were up front and the goals that they've got in them. So it was always going to be difficult, but we didn't help ourselves, that's for sure. Disappointing defeat in the end. Che Adams got the consolation goal, but nonetheless it's another defeat. And then we go on to Saturday. Now Saturday I was actually, the closer I got to the game, I was actually quite optimistic that we could get something from it. Obviously the return of the former manager that won't be named. And I've seen really one or two people saying that we actually played quite well during the game. I really don't buy into that whatsoever. I thought we were slow again. Every time he announces the team selection, you look down the line, and where is the pace? I just don't see any pace whatsoever in that lineup. He brought Adams in this time for a little bit more, just to accompany Jutkiewicz a little bit more up top, but I just didn't see it enough at all, really. Very disappointing, and obviously we went 1-0 down again very early. All sorts of, whatever you want to talk about, systems or formations or however you want to play and who you want to play, it really doesn't help at all when you keep going 1-0 down in the first 5 minutes. But obviously we stuck in there, and the Derby manager, his teams aren't really going to go and batter teams, even with the good players that Derby have got. But and we stuck in there, and we got a goal from a set piece there. Notoriously bad at defending set pieces, Derby. And we got our goal from a set piece. Jutkiewicz flicked it on, and Adams turned well and scored. And you thought, if we get a point there, you really would have taken that point. But it never materialised. And the last goal is one of the worst goals I've ever seen a Blues team concede. To have a free kick in injury time. Number one, we'll discuss. I've got a point to mention Gardner's set pieces afterwards, but the set piece is dreadful, and it goes out for a goal kick, and to allow a goal kick to be taken, and Tom Ince is in 1-on-1 from a goal kick in injury time is absolutely scandalous. It's criminal. So to lose in that fashion is an absolute outrage. You can't call us unlucky. I've seen a couple of people saying, obviously unlucky possibly with Jutkiewicz's goal that could have been 1-0 at the time, before at 1-1, sorry, to equalise. But to concede that goal, if you're conceding that goal, you can't consider us to be unlucky. You can't call us unlucky. You can't call the manager unlucky. That is unacceptable at this level of football. That is unacceptable at the Sunday League level of football. Never mind the Championship. So those are the two games that have been since then. If we just go through a couple of the comments, thank you all for tuning in, and hopefully share your comments and views of the last week. Paul Gills, Nick Spall, when your chips are down, Lady Luck tends not to smile on you. I still maintain we were desperately unlucky Saturday. Just pointing out, Nick, that second goal, if we concede that goal in injury time, we could have battered the door down against, which we didn't do, but we could have battered the door down against Derby, and I still wouldn't have considered us unlucky, because you just cannot concede that goal in injury time. Steve Kimberley, good evening. First goal, to be fair, was lucky. Well, don't allow him to get the shot in, really. Kuszak's unlucky, because obviously as he's dived for it and it's hit him on the back and gone in, so he's a little bit unlucky. If it doesn't hit Kuszak, it could come back and to a Derby player. So really the problem is the midfield and defence not getting out quick enough, especially that early on in the game. Nick Spall, Gardner was a real disappointment. Now I don't know what other people are thinking at the moment, but on Saturday we are in a position where we're not playing well, and we're not trying to pass teams off the park anymore. We are actually trying to fight, and we're not going to create many chances. So the chances that we do get are going to have to be taken, and they're going to have to be really pushed. So set pieces are a massive part of what we can achieve. We've got some big centre halves there. Obviously, we've got Jutkovic up front as well. You need to make the most of these set pieces, and Gardner's free kicks and corners, most of the time when I'm watching them, they are really poor. They're too deep. They're not deep enough. I think he's trying to get the perfect whip on it, and it's just not working at the moment. But in all fairness to Gardner, I don't know who else takes it. Who else takes the free kicks if Gardner doesn't take them? Does anyone know if anyone else was considered before the board decided Zola was the right man and sacked? I don't think so. I would imagine that as soon as the Zola idea came about, they would have gone for him. Obviously, it wasn't the fact that they sacked the former manager and then waited 2 weeks. It was pretty instantaneous. So I imagine that Zola was always the number one choice. All week long, Zola banged on about the game being 90 plus minutes and concentration for the whole game, yet we conceded in 3 minutes. Absolutely bang on, Kevin. And it was the same against Brighton as well, first half and second half. So for 3 of the last 4 halves of football, we've conceded in the first 5 minutes, which you're on a downward spiral from then on in, aren't you? If you're not scoring many goals, which we're not, and we're conceded within 3 minutes, 5 minutes of each half, then we really are stuck. George Tasker is also very disappointed with Gardner. And Kevin says we look naive and amateur. I think defensively, it has been a problem. I think Bielik coming in has improved us. I think Shotton has got a little bit better. But that second goal, how on earth are you playing in the Championship and you concede a goal in injury time when you're 1-1 from a goal kick? It's completely inconceivable. You can't even imagine how that would happen. Alison Shilton, same old rubbish. Not even thinking about winning it it's when we're going to lose again. Brian Johnson, Adams looked good. Adams, the thing I mentioned about the lack of pace, at least Adams coming in give us a little bit more. The Brighton lineup just completely void of any pace in the team. The one signing that Zola has actually made that came in January and people have been pretty happy about was Keita. Now, and all of us, the last 2 games, he's chose Grimes over him. I don't know if he trusts Grimes more defensively than Keita or not, but Keita at least gives you something for the opposition to think about, especially on that left wing. Winner shouldn't have been allowed. Ball was rolling, says Steve Wood. If you're going with the technicalities, possibly, yeah. You could say that. And I think a couple of players were in their area as well. But defensively, it shouldn't be allowed to happen at all. The ball could have been anywhere, but the fact that ball has come all the way over the pitch, to the other end and Ince is one-on-one in the last minute from a goal kick is completely unacceptable. Robert Doyle, why on earth do you leave one defender in rear guard, the slowest, oldest player on the pitch? Totally wrong. Absolutely, yeah, 100%. I've expressed on Tilton Talk show more than once the fact that I don't think Robinson should be playing in the team. I don't think he's good enough anymore. But yeah, he was left stranded with Fry, of all people, Kieran Fry and Robinson as the back two when that goal kick was taken. It's completely inconceivable, and that should not have happened at all. Penelope Wood, new goalkeeper in the summer? ? I mean, Kuszak's done okay the last few games, and in all fairness, a couple of times when we've drawn, the last 3 games we've drawn, Kuszak's made some good saves that, really, if it hadn't been for them, we could be in even worse position. But he didn't cover himself in any glory with the second goal. I suppose natural reaction is to come out and to try and stop Ince. Unfortunately, he gave Ince the easy option to dink it over him. Brian Johnson says the board of Chelsea supporters. I'm convinced of it. Yeah, well, we'll go on to. I've got a point to make about the statement they've released today, but that I will mention that a little later. Steve Kimberley, injury time winner again, just like against Brighton, quite similar games, and the Duke's goal disallowed was a 50-50, but the keeper always wins. He does. The keep. They're a protected species, the goalkeepers, and unfortunately, as soon as Carson makes that move that he's been interrupted by Jutkovic, then the referee's always going to give that. Unfortunately, that's just the game we're in at the moment. 30 years ago, it's a goal probably, but not today. Paul Gill, we've conceded loads inside 20 minutes since Zola took over. We have, and that's the point that we have become the team that people want to play against rather than the team that nobody wants to play against, because teams do feel that they can get at us quickly and they can score goals against us. Can't get wins, seems to be happy every game to hope for a draw, says Kevin Medlicott. He does, and I certainly felt that against Brighton. That was the way he went against Brighton. I thought bringing Adams in against Derby might have meant that he pushed it a little bit more. Obviously, listen, when we got the equaliser, the onus is on us then to get the winner, and we have as the home team especially, and the team who are still in trouble, the onus was on us to try and get the winner, but we never really looked like getting it, and to concede the way we did was awful. Chris Redding, we miss a fit Michael Morrison. I agree with that wholeheartedly. I think he comes in. If you had a back three of Morrison, Shotton and Bielik all the way through Zola's tenure, things might be a little bit different. I'm not defending Zola, not one bit, but it might have been a little bit different if those three had been fit. Brian Johnston asks, is Keita injured? Well, he was on the bench against Brighton and he was on the bench against Derby. If he's not fit, I don't know why he's on the bench. Surely you put a player who you're happy playing on the bench. But Grimes has been chosen over him for the last 2 games now. Zola was singular choice by TTA and was lined up before GR release, says Kevin Kelly. I would be inclined to agree with that, absolutely. The speed that he came into the club after the manager was sacked, I would agree with that. Heath Burgess comments, looks like we are going to stay up because there are worse teams. If anyone celebrates staying up, they need their head wobbling. We had a mid-table team at worst, and now we are served up with this rubbish. Zola, nice bloke, but hasn't got a clue as a manager. It's hard to disagree with Heath there. He's factually, he's just telling the facts. We were a mid-table team at worst, and now we are fighting relegation. It's proven that at the moment we're 6 points off the drop because how bad Blackburn are. I thought Blackburn would actually beat Barnsley at home on Saturday. A massive game for them and a really good opportunity, and they lost 2-0. So obviously Wigan struggled to beat Rotherham, and I think even though they won in the end, I don't think they've got enough in it to get them out of it. So yeah, I honestly think Blackburn and Wigan's profligacy has kept us up really, rather than our own efforts. Daz Hines, good evening, Mr. Fun. We weren't great Saturday, but Derby didn't deserve 3 points. in my opinion, we are missing Morrison. That organisation at the back, we seem to lack that. We do lack organisation. Shotton, and like I said, Shotton has been better since Bielik's come in, and obviously Bielik has definitely improved it. But Morrison would, he's the club captain, and I think him in that defence would improve us definitely. Derby didn't deserve 3 points. They got it. And how many times did that happen with us under the previous manager? Where we've come away from games saying, do you know what, we weren't great, but we've got 3 points there, or we've been battered there, but we've nicked a point. And that's what he seems to do, and that's what we did under him, and we're doing the opposite under Zola now. Ben Homer, I think we were very lucky. We are very lucky, sorry. Blackburn need to win now 2 from 5 without us picking up any more points. If we can't get anything from Rotherham and Burton after the run we've been on, we deserve to go down. Think 2 draws even keeps us safe, but have zero confidence going into next season. I wholeheartedly agree with that. If we don't win at Rotherham, then 100% anybody should get relegated if they can't beat Rotherham at the moment. But we've got to go there and win. Rotherham aren't going to come out at us. There's got no reason to. They're at home, and they'll sit back and they'll know that we've got no confidence, and they'll make it hard for us to break them down. And we've got to go there and do that. And we haven't shown that in the 4 months that Zola's been here. Blackburn do. 2 wins from 5 puts us level with them. But obviously the likes of Burton and Forest, who are still below us at the moment, I think they're going to surpass us. So we are hoping Blackburn somehow don't turn it around and win like 3 from 5. Kevin Kelly, Kuszak made saves that kept things respectable. However, recently some of his decision making been poor. It has been, especially the Ince goal. It's a rush of blood to the head. Probably he's panicked and seen that there's only 2 defenders back, and he's thought he's got to come out and deal with it himself. But unfortunately, it was the wrong choice, and it made it easy for Ince. It's pointless sacking Zola now. Finish season and give him another transfer window. That's from Paul Williams. Thanks for your comment, Paul. What is it that you think another transfer window will give Zola? Because I haven't seen anything. He spent 3 million on Frey, and he doesn't want to play him, even though it was his brilliance against Brighton that led to our goal. He doesn't seem to like Frey. He brought Cater in and has now decided that Graham's is the better option. Persisting with Gardner on set pieces when it clearly isn't working. I would not trust him with any more money in the transfer window, and I don't think we couldn't do any worse sacking him right now. Robert Doyle, again, we are in a situation where we are relying on other teams to be worse than us. If other teams below us start winning, we will be in League One. That was the situation 4 weeks ago, and we were saying on the Tilton Talk show that we were in a relegation battle, and we were going to have to scrap this out. I thought Blackburn would actually improve, but they haven't, thankfully. And it is their lack of improvement that at the moment that is keeping us down there. Forest beat Huddersfield at home. Bristol City beat Wolves, who won 5 on the bounce. So everybody is fighting and they are desperate to pick up points, and we're the ones at the moment not doing it. But thankfully, so are Blackburn, which is keeping us out of trouble. Officials were awful. Easy to blame the officials. Brian Johnston, I wouldn't give Zola a bag of peanuts. I think I would agree with you there, Brian. I assume that's in relation to Paul's comment about giving him another transfer window. David Curry, why are they happy with Zola? Have they already sorted out loan players for next year? Poor judgment. Well, so we'll go on to the statement now that was made today by the club. As I'm sure David Curry is mentioning there. 2 wins in 21 or 22 games. I don't know one fan that is happy with Zola. I don't know one Blues fan that is content with the way things are going, and I know very, very few that are optimistic for next season if he stays. So to come out and publish a statement that they did today, suggesting that they were fully behind the manager, and actually using Blues fans being Blues fans on Saturday, the mere fact that we actually want to win a game of football, and turning that onto the fact that we're supporting Zola, it's for me it's a massive insult to the fans. And I don't know about everybody else. At the moment, every single tweet or Facebook post that the club puts out, I'm shaking my head at. They do. It feels like an insult every time, an insult to the fans. I don't know what they think we're thinking inside. The numerous comments over and over again that they're not happy with Zola. It's not getting through at all. But to keep coming out and pretending that everything's okay and insulting our football intelligence, it really wrangles with me at the moment. And Blues fans are better than that, and they can see through it. They are seeing through the rubbish that the club are putting out at the moment. I don't think it's fair at all. David Curry's point: have they already sorted out loan players for next season? I don't think so. Mainly because we don't know what league we're in. I haven't heard anything about season ticket renewals or prices, because basically we don't know what league we're going to be in still. Even now, with 5 games left, we could still go down, technically. Little bit of a rant there, sorry. Paul Hipkiss: only 3 of Zola's players started on Saturday. Let's get this season out of the way, stay up and let him get his own players in, then judge him properly come October. That's fair, Paul. But he bought catering and he's chosen grounds over him the last 2 games. He bought Sinclair in. Where's Jerome Sinclair gone? One of the worst loan signings in the history of the Football League. He's done absolutely nothing and he's gone nowhere. So there's 2 players that aren't getting a look in. Frey, he bought Frey in and doesn't want him. He doesn't want to use him. I just don't trust him to make any more signings with Blues' money at the moment. Chris Brown, good to have you on, Mr. Brown. Says you're a star, Mr. Pugh. Thank you. Some people may disagree with that though. Daz Hines: onwards and upwards for Friday. Everyone wants to jump on Zola's back too quick. Didn't our former manager go on a run, winning only 3 in 18? Don't think he got half as much abuse. But was the former manager's run of, if that's correct, 3 in 18? I don't know if that is 100% correct. If it is, that wasn't immediate. That wasn't his first 18 games. He made an immediate impact, and you could see that things were improving under him. Nothing's improving under Zola. Absolutely nothing. And the fact he's come in when everything was going okay, people might not like that, might not like hearing it over and over again, but things were going okay, actually. I was actually pretty happy being outside the playoffs on goal difference. So this is all we've got to judge Zola on, these 20-odd games that he's managed, and he's done nothing for me, absolutely nothing to suggest that he is the right man for the job. Robert Doyle agrees with Daz's. I think he's confirming his stat of 3 in 18. Steve Kimberley: would be great to know how many early goals, first and second half we've conceded over the last few games, and injury time winners we've conceded. It's how teams are playing against us. No, we're shaky early in each half and at the end of the game. Do you know what? I think he's bang on. I think if you're the opposition manager, you would say, listen, first 5 minutes, get at them, and then first 5 minutes of the second half, get at them again, because we do look so unorganised when we start and after the break as well. And that's another thing that you have to look at the manager and say, what are you doing? What are you telling these players to do in the first 5 minutes and at half time as well? Because the first 5 minutes we do look awful, and it takes us so long to get a little bit of rhythm, and even that rhythm is slow and tepid. Brian Johnston, jump on his back too quick. It's been 22 games and 3 months, 2 wins. Former manager has got as many wins as Zola in 1 game. Well, he has now got 3 wins in a week, the former manager. So, but that, you know, that's a different, and it's the same thing he did when he comes to us. You know, he drew the first game with Derby 2-2 away at Forest, and if you remember, his first game with us was a derby against Wolves, and he drew 0-0, and then we won at home, I think, against a Watford side that were flying high. So when he came into us, and now he's gone to Derby, he's turned it round quickly for the opposition. But listen, the Zola stat is there for all to see. It's 2 wins in 22, and that's just not good enough. Nick gives us a score update of Palace 1, Arsenal 0 in the Premier League game. Allison says we won't win another game this season. Well, if we don't, Allison, that means we won't have beat Rotherham away and Burton at home, which means that we are seriously in trouble. Paul Gill reckons Rotherham will go at us. It's a chance for a win for them, the form we are in. As much as it's difficult to believe, Paul, I think Rotherham are even lacking in even more confidence than us. I can't see them attacking us at all. I think that the perfect plan for them is to sit back and let us attack them, because they know that we're not very good at that. Gregory Beasley, we need 2 centre halves. Well, obviously, Bielik isn't ours, technically. We don't know if we're going to get him back next year. If we don't, then absolutely we need cover there, because at the moment we've got injury concern over Morrison, and obviously Shotton's the only other defender we've got. Bear with me. Kevin Kelly wants to know, why are the Blues faithful putting up with Zola? We are sleepwalking into League One, and we need to let the board know this is not acceptable. Have we become horribly complacent? The fans who want to give Zola more time are delusional. Well, I don't want to cause arguments, but listen, I'm. There's been 2 or 3 tonight on the comments who have said give Zola the summer, give him another transfer window. They are a rare breed right now. I haven't seen or spoke to very many people at all who are prepared to give him more time. So the answer is, Kevin, I don't think there's a lot left of the Blues faithful who are going to stick with him, who are willing to stick by him. I think a lot of people have run out of patience now. Kevin Medlicott, we are going to be a laughing stock at the Vile. I'd rather not think about that right now, Kevin. We've got 2 massive games before that, so let's get those ones over and done with before we even start to think about that one. Robert Doyle, 2 games we need to win, Rotherham and Burton, simples. Both teams will defend with 10 players and hit us on the break. Only sensible tactics will win us these games. Don't want to go to Bristol and rely on the last game to survive. No, neither do I. That's for certain. Them being at home, I think that'll be such a tough place to go. If that's in an important game, you know, I will be concerned there. But he's right. Our league really now is 2 games. It's Rotherham away and Burton at home. That is our league season. 4 points from that and we're safe. Maybe 3, but we've got to go to Rotherham and win. It's just really, we can't afford anything else. Everybody else is beating Rotherham. We can't afford to go there and not win. Daz Hines, next season we will be in the playoffs. Can't wait to see him turn this round and everyone loving him. People will swallow their pride and say they were wrong. Hashtag doubt it. I'm glad you put that hashtag doubt it on there, because I was really starting to get concerned there, Dad. Playoffs seems an absolute mile away next season, unfortunately. Robert Doyle, your point about season tickets and no player targets is bang on, an indication that the board are not that confident. They can't be confident that in reality, unfortunately. They can't start. He's got a good point though, because if you think when we were supposed to have all the money, to spend in January. The amount of player target names that were coming out, we were getting a new name every other day, weren't we? And we're not hearing anything now about the summer. That might be an indication of where the board are thinking. Even though they've put this statement out today, the fact that we're not hearing anything about player contract renewals, player targets, or anything, possibly an interesting sideline there. Penelope Wood says Sinclair is the invisible man. He certainly has been since he's come to us. Nick Poyner, I can't believe the statement made today. Really, really dangerous to being that stubborn or pig-headed. And it does seem that way, Nick. You're right. They do come across as though they know how we feel, but actually they're going to come out and say, listen, you're not in charge, we are. And he's our man, and there's nothing you can do about it. You're not going to change it. That is the way it does come across a little bit, and like I said, it is a little bit insulting to the proper fans, who are going home and away every week. I mentioned Rotherham on Friday. It's another sellout, sellout for Blues away yet again, and they're using that as some sort of, club to back as though we're backing Zola, rather than actually just being Blues fans that we are and going to the game and supporting the team. Paul Gill, Grimsby sacked their manager today, who won 9 out of 27 games he was in charge for. How on earth does our board not see that Zola is useless? Yeah, obviously someone I know with a Blues Ladies connection. Marcus Bignot was a coach at Blues Ladies before he moved to Grimsby. Obviously manager of Solihull Moors as well. 9 out of 27. That's a bit better than 2 out of 22, isn't it? But I don't know the ins and outs of the Grimsby decision. I had a quick look earlier today on social media, and it seemed about 75%, 25% in favour. That Grimsby fans thought it was a bit of a harsh decision. There were a few fans saying that the football hasn't been good enough, and he's made some strange decisions. But again, quite a few were bemused at the sacking. Kevin Kelly, Saturday's performance was, in my opinion, actually worse than Zola's first game in charge versus Brighton. No progress, yet money spent in 22 games. Well, before that was obviously the Wigan defeat and the QPR defeat as well, Kevin, which were eminently worse than the Brighton game on the first game of the season. So we haven't improved. You're right. We're not improving. We don't look like we're going to improve, and unfortunately, that is the state of it. Daz, are you going to Rotherham, Mr. Fun? Unfortunately, I have a prior engagement, so I will not be able to attend the Rotherham game. I was looking forward to that one because I haven't been to that ground yet, and obviously with them going down and, well, God, hopefully we stay up, it might be a few years until I do go to see that ground. But, yeah, unfortunately I won't be going to that one. Steve Kimberley, when do the players have to take account for just not playing? It's all about Zola, but so-called professionals don't just go bad this quick. Yes, Zola is poor appointment, but the players aren't helping. The players have to take some responsibility, Steve, you're right. But what are they being told? And there is a sense of, I personally, I think I would find it difficult as well if I had a manager that I really liked and respected, and in my opinion he was shafted out of a job and somebody else comes in. I as professional as I would like to be, I would find it difficult to really back that manager. But I think they have. I think it's clear, the Wolves game in particular, where they were fighting for him, but it's just such basic mistakes like that second goal against Derby. That isn't a lack of fight or that is just such terrible organisation, and I think it does stem from the manager, unfortunately. Andrew Cave, have you seen programme versus Derby? Is it true that who was not mentioned at all in it? Well, he mentioned that he was disappointed that he didn't get a mention. I haven't read the programme, I haven't seen the programme, but by all accounts there was mention of him in it. Now, whether that was just in the Derby opposition profile, normally managers who have done well for teams, they get a bit from the current manager or from the chairman or owner, and I assume that's where he wasn't mentioned, that he was a little bit disappointed about. But I think that was more rubbing salt into the wounds a little bit, I think, on the former manager's part. And he's got every right to at the end of the day. He feels he was unjustifiably sacked, and he's come back and done one over on us. I actually had a quick chat with him after the game. He was doing an interview with Derby TV, and after that interview I just had a quick chat with him. And he obviously said his main hope is that we do stay in the division. But yeah, I haven't seen the programme, but I don't think there would have been a mention. I wouldn't have expected there to be a mention from the owner or the current manager. Chris Redding says, keep going, Chris, you're doing really well. Thank you very much. Daz, who would be your player of the season? Wow, what a good question. That is a really tough question, actually. Based on the first half of the season, which really is what you can only base it on, probably David Davis for me. Showed a lot of fight, a lot of spirit, and in the massive games, the derbies, he got the goal against Villa, and he got a goal and was excellent away at Wolves as well, which, considering Zola's only won 2 of 20 odd, one of them was Wolves, and Davis really put a shift in that day. So for me, at the moment, it'd probably be Davis. Chris Brown, a slip against Rotherham is not worth thinking about, but if we did fail, confidence from the faithful would be pretty non-existent. Yeah, if we lose against Rotherham, there'll be such a call for his head. In that Burton game will be toxic. It'll be really difficult to play that Burton game then, if we lose to Rotherham, because I think that crowd will really get on his back. Robert Dawes Sinclair, good point. Steph Grantham, why do you think they won't spend any money on us? Do they actually want us to fail? That's a point I've made the last couple of months. The whole back in Zola. Obviously they brought him in December, and we're supposedly bringing him to back him and get us a promotion push. But really, net spend, we didn't spend that much money. And that is an interesting point. I wonder, considering the fact we've already mentioned there's a lack of transfer targets so far, I wonder whether there is an issue there with funding, and whether they've decided to pull the plug on the idea that we're going to get promoted, and they're just going to throw a little bit of money at us here and there, rather than throw the pot in, which they might have done if we were progressing better. Kevin Medlicott, getting supporters in is what brings money to the club. How long till fans decide they can't afford to be downhearted every week? Obviously, working in the ground on match days, the amount of people I've heard say this is the last season. They're not renewing their season ticket. They've had enough. And it's a really good point. You might get to the point next season, if Zola stays and we don't start very well next season, crowds of 12, 13,000 might start swaying the board a little bit. I'm not advocating a boycott of such, but the fact they've come out today and praised the support against Derby, if they are getting crowds of 11, 12,000, that might just start to shift their thinking on the manager situation. Brian Johnson, I'm worried about players like Morrison, Kuszak, Donaldson, Gleeson, Shotton, all slapping in transfer requests as soon as the final whistle on the season goes. That is a worry. Obviously, the players that came in January knew that Zola was there, but the rest of them were seemingly pretty content under the previous manager. So you do wonder what the relationship is really like between the players and the manager, and whether we will see anything like that happen once the season finishes, that the likes of Gleeson, Shotton, Kuszak, etc. start getting linked to other clubs then. My daughter watches Burton because we live nearby, and she summed it up as Burton work their socks off and try really hard, so it will be a hard game. That's from Penelope. Burton are simply not good enough to try and play football. They know their limitations, and they went up to Huddersfield, and like Penelope said, did exactly that. Worked their socks off, and they were organised and they were structured, and they came away with a late 1-0 win, which in the grand scheme of things might keep them up at the end of the day. And if they stay up, they've had a magnificent season. Chris, to be positive about the statement today and lack of targets and season ticket talk, maybe TTA are trying to pour oil on troubled waters, knowing we need to just flop over the line and avoid relegation. However, I believe TTA will act in the summer and sack Zola. That's from Kevin Kelly. Possibly. I just think the lack of season ticket information and transfer targets, I do wonder that normally there's no smoke without fire, and if you start hearing stories that the board are thinking about making a change and some of the board aren't happy with Zola, then 9 times out of 10 that means that there is something in it. Daz Hines, washing your hair instead of Rotherham away, has it really got that bad? Cutting toenails, actually, Daz. Washed my hair last week, so yeah, that's a different matter altogether. Brian Johnston, he was mentioned in the away section. Yeah, I thought that would be the case, that he would be mentioned in the Derby profile. So his point that he wasn't mentioned by the current manager or owner remains, and like I said, I think it's more rubbing salt into the wounds, really, after the fact that he won. Steve Wood says Che Adams, that might be for player of the season. Heath Burgess says player of the season, one of the ball boys, possibly, good shout. Daz Hines, who actually cares about our former manager? He couldn't jump off that bench quick enough when they scored both goals after saying he loved our fans. Daz, what would you expect him to do? His job now is at Derby. He's the Derby manager, and there is a small but possible chance that they could still nick the playoffs. I wouldn't expect him to sit in his seat and not react to when they scored. He's Derby's manager now, and he's rightfully delighted when they score because his team have come away with 3 points. Robert Doyle, if we lose against Rotherham, our season is over. Unfortunately, Rotherham, Robert, there'll be 4 games left after that. 4 massive games, especially if we lose. Faraz Akbar, I think we're going to lose against Rotherham. What do you think? I hope not. I really do hope not. But I just can't see how we can't win, even us. Rotherham are so bad that we just simply have to win there. Steve Wood, Forest, Bristol City, Wolves, Villa, Brentford, Blackburn's last 5 games. Obviously, Forest and Bristol City, less so Wolves now, but Forest and Bristol City are down there as well. So they're massive games, Blackburn against Forest, Blackburn against Bristol City. But then on the other hand, Wolves, Villa, Brentford, they're 3 teams now that really haven't got a lot to play for. And sometimes at this stage of the season, they're the teams you want to play. This club have seen worse times in our history. Remember when we used to get crowds of 4,000 or 5,000? That's from Chris. I don't remember those times, Chris, but it doesn't make the situation now right. Nathan Pritchard, how many of us are going to review our season ticket next season if we are in the same state? I think a lot of season ticket holders are thinking that, Nathan. I think they are starting to think, is it worth spending that much money on the same sort of situation that we're in now? Like I said, just hearing people in and around the ground on match days, that is the feeling I get, that people are questioning it at the moment. Paul Gill, what's lineup for Rotherham would you pick? I would attack them. I would go hell for leather, because whether we play 5-3-2 or 4-5-1 or 5 at the back and a diamond behind a striker, we still defensively look shoddy. So, I think the only way to go, we've got to go to Rotherham and attack them. I would probably go a little bit more attacking than we have been. Possibly Jutkovic and Frey and Adams either side. Just to give us a little bit more ingenuity in that final third, and like you say, maybe bring Keita back in on the left to give us something down that left hand side as well. Brian Johnson says, give me Lee Clark any day over this clown. And that is a sad state of affairs. That shows how bad things are, that we'd rather have Lee Clark back in charge when you think back to losing 5-0 at home to Barnsley and situations like that which were coming in regularly under Clark. Daz Hines, go on then, we'll get this going. Daz will kick us off. The prediction for Friday away at Rotherham in what is now the biggest game of our season. Daz goes for 2-0 Blues, and I will go for 3-1 Blues. I will back us purely out of sheer desperation rather than anything else. David Curry, your predictions for the last games. Well, I'll give us 3-1 against Rotherham, which will hopefully give us a little bit of confidence going into the Burton game. I can't see many goals in it. Possibly 1-1 against Burton. And unfortunately, I can't see anything from the last 3 games. Huddersfield at home, Villa away and Bristol City away. So I think I'm giving us 4 points until the end of the season. Daz says, I'm guessing there will be no show next Monday night. Not 100% sure. We'll keep you updated either way. It is an Easter Monday, isn't it? But we'll keep you updated on the Tilton Talk Facebook page as to if anything's going on next week. Hashtag it's the hope that kills you. It certainly is, Daz. Kevin Kelly, the season ticket holders around in the COP, most are not renewing while Zola is at the helm. It's expensive for 90 minutes of stress and anger. It certainly is. And again, maybe that will force the board's hand if they get really low season ticket sales at the start of the season. If it's not what's expected, if they're disappointed in the sales, they might start to look at things a little bit more. But we'll see. But again, a lot of people do say it's easy to say I'm not coming back again, but come July, August, when the season's about to start, a lot of people get the bug again, and they can't do without it. So I'm sure the season ticket holders will return in numbers. Brian Johnson's reckons it'll be 2-2 versus Rotherham. That is, I don't think that's good enough, Brian. I'd be concerned if it was that. Nathan Pritchard, hopefully a win. With Zola, we need a lot of money, but with the former manager, you didn't need to spend a lot on players. Again, that's a debate for another day. The former manager versus current manager debate. 4-1 Blues if he puts out an attacking lineup, says Andrew Cave. That will give us a lot of confidence. And just as we were feeling optimistic, Alison Shilton comes on and puts 2-1 Rotherham. That would really start to panic us, I think. Daz Hines, 3 goals in 1 game. Mr. Finn has been on the beer. 2-0 Blues, and it's half time. Palace 1, Arsenal 0. So there is actually, it's weird. Maybe that's just a sign of how bad Rotherham are. But 2 wins in 22, and most people, apart from with the exception of Allison, are giving us points at Rotherham. Most people going with a win. So whether Zola there or not, we will be renewing. Club need us more than ever, says Dave Moore. That's obviously Blues fans are like that, and I think Davo put a video up of a couple of Blues fans, and they were remaining optimistic, and I think that sometimes that's all you can do, because if you actually start to assess really dig deep down into what's happened over the last few months, it will depress you quite a lot. But maybe you just renew for the players, you do it for the players, and you do it because you're going to watch Blues and not just a Gianfranco Zola side. Robert Dorr, pressure is on us against Rotherham. I think we will bottle it and they will nick it. Robert going with Allison there. Brian Johnston, hashtag it's the Zola that kills us. I quite like that. That might catch on actually, Brian. Paul, if Villa thrash us, will the board finally sack him? If Villa thrash us, the fans will make sure that the board know exactly what they want. In as much as they have done over the last few weeks, if that result goes the way I fear it could do, then the board will have some serious questions to answer. And again, we mentioned that quite a number of things that might force the board's hand with the managerial situation. It depends how stubborn they are willing to be, Paul. It depends how determined they are that they're not going to be made to look silly in this. But if that result goes that way, then there could be some serious problems. Robert Doyle, cricket will drive us back to St Andrews after the summer. I don't like that, Robert. I'm quite a big cricket fan as it is, so I disagree with that. Benji Smith, oh my word, imagine this. Jonathan Grounds in the 93rd minute against Bristol City, Cadiz all over again. Imagine it being Grounds as well, of all the people it could be. The stick he's got over the last year and a bit, if it was Grounds in the 93rd minute to keep us up. I don't think my heart could take that, Benji. Nathan Pritchard, I agree, but the club need, with the renewing of the season ticket, I agree, but the club need to know that we keep the club going. So we need to see something to put us at ease. And that is a point that the season ticket holders, loyal season ticket holders, don't want to be taken as mugs, and they don't want to be seen as though they're just being treated badly, and taken advantage of and taken for granted. So the fans do need to see something. They do need to have something to believe in. Lose or draw, stay in the Championship. Zola has to go. If BCFC want Premiership, Premier League, that is, they need to invest a lot of money for Zola. I don't trust him with the money, though. That's the problem. It's all well and good saying give him lots of more money, but he had a little bit of money in January, and the money he did have, he didn't spend it very well. Score draw v Rotherham, 1-1. We ain't got multiple goals in us at the moment. That's from Kevin. 1-0 Blues, says Will Cadd. Great show, Chris. Well done, says Mr. Brown. Thank you. Alison, maybe get the coffin back out and pass it round St Andrews. We might have to have one in Blues colours at this rate. That's a good point. Sam Greenway. Wolves will lose on purpose to Blackburn. I hate it when this thing... Somebody put about Blackburn's fixtures and they've got Wolves and Villa. But no way the teams lose on purpose. But his comment is, Wolves will lose to purpose against Blackburn, so the gap is 3 points, the way I look at it. Zola should have gone, but somehow need to win both Rotherham and Burton games. We do need to win the Rotherham, at least one of them. I think 4 points will probably keep us up. But I don't refuse to believe for all money that Wolves will lose on purpose to Blackburn just to send us down. 2 1-0 wins coming up. It'll keep us up, but unfortunately it means Zola stays. That's from Wayne Thompson. 2 clean sheets there, Wayne. That's unlike us at the moment. Steve Kimberley. If we go all guns out blazing against Rotherham, we will score 3 or 4. I think that's the way to go, Steve. Like I said, as much as we're lacking confidence, Rotherham are even worse than us. So, I think they are going to sit back and try and defend against us. So, we are going to have to attack them and give them the best we've got. David Rick, Zola song should be whoops, I did it again. He is making the same mistakes. Kevin Kelly, I would take a whopping Villa if it meant we stayed in the Championship. The road back from League One and FFP is atrocious. Could take years. I think that's a question we've had before on here. Would you accept? Would you take, if you were guaranteed survival? Would you take a battering at Villa? And I agree with Kevin. I think you have to. You just have to stay in the league this season. You definitely don't want to be going down to League One. Look at a club that came up this weekend in Sheffield United. They've been a massive club, arguably bigger than ours, and they've spent 6 years in League One. And you think, if we spent 6 years in League One, that how long it's been that less than that since we were in the Premier League. So Russell Smith, I moan about the situation as much as most people, but I will renew my season ticket just because it's Blues. It's classic Blues, sorry. You're right, Russell, and I think a lot of people will say that then they're not going to renew or they are unhappy with the situation, but at the end, when it comes to the crunch, I think people will start pining for St Andrews and they will renew. Do we have a song in us for Zola, says Robert Doyle. If anyone has any on the suggestion that's clean and can be read out, then I'll give it a go. Top listener as always, Chris, well done. Thank you, Nick. Daz, last 5 games of the season, 5 wins is my prediction. Time to push on for next season. As bad as it gets, Daz will always bring us the confidence and optimism that we need. Will Cad, think we are missing Michael Morrison a lot. We mentioned that earlier. Will, definitely, I definitely agree. I think, especially playing 3 centre halves at the moment, I think Morrison walks straight into that back 3. Where are we, Dave Moore? Last 15 minutes, 4-0 Blues. Now past the Sherry. Yeah, well, if we're 4-0 up with 15 minutes to go, then I'll definitely take that, Dave. Kevin Medlicott, great show. Keep the faith. Alison, great show. Chris. Faraz, if we lose against Rotherham, we should do a protest at BCFC. What do others think? I don't think a protest is appropriate. I think, the one thing we don't really, we had that with the Golden Sullivan and look how that panned out. So I just think the board know our feelings. It's not like it's a secret. We need to protest to tell them our feelings. They know exactly what we think. So the problem is we have no consistent system and no key players to hang the team off. That is another problem that we are mixing and changing, and we don't know whether we're playing 3 at the back one week or 4 in the middle or 5 in the middle another week. So David Curry, that hurts. Sheffield United bigger than us. Well, I mean, obviously, I think Blues are a big club or a massive club, but I think we're definitely on a par with Sheffield United. Sheffield United are on a par with us, sorry. I think that they definitely deserve to be back in the Championship. Last time there was a protest, there was about 10 people in the Cop car park. You're right, Russell, and like I said, with the Golden Sullivan era and the people running on the pitch and trying to get them in the director's box, I don't see that as a positive, unfortunately. Daz, no protests, it's not that bad. Ooh. Song, the only way is up, from Steve, thank you. Protests cannot be seen in China, says Robert. We don't do protests very well, says Chris. We don't. And like I said, I just don't think there's a positive to come out of it. Blues are a sleeping giant, says Robert Doyle. Are we sleeping? We're certainly sleeping at the moment. If we are in the relegation zone, I'm sure everyone's opinion will change. I think even if we go down, the worst comes to the worst, we go down. I don't think there'll be reason for a protest, unfortunately. I just don't see any positives to come out of it. It's like I said, it's not like the board don't know the feelings of the fans. They know exactly what we're thinking at the moment. So, Paul Gill, we're not sleeping. We're on life support. Yeah, that's not far off. Brian Johnson, Zola should be on the Dola. Robert, we haven't woken up for 40 years. Premier League winners in 3 years. You heard it here first. That's Daz. So everybody get your mortgages on. Sam Greenway, pointless any protest. Owners are never here and not going to listen. Right now, sleepwalking to relegation if we don't get the win Friday. And that is the massive one now. It is all down to Friday. The next game is the biggest game of the season, and with only 5 to go, they're even bigger than we thought they were going to be a few months ago. So Friday is huge. The Rotherham game now. A full house. sold out Blues section, so we really need to get behind that team and get that win on Friday. Leicester did it, why can't we? I'm not talking about Leicester, Daz. Kevin, he came to the Blues and all we did was lose. Zola. Nick, Premier League winners in 3 years. Daz, have you got 2020 vision? I kind of didn't want to read that one out. Robert Doyle, we need the horse back. I don't know if anybody's seen him lately. Brian Johnston, we could be 9 points clear Friday. Yeah, well, that's the hope. Blackburn lose and we win, and really, I think that's it. Then we should be fine. Just a quick point on regular discussion on the Tilton Talk Super 6. 9 points for me this week. I think Nick Spore got 11, which was a really good effort. But we might as well all give up because Ray's 40 points clear now at the top. So he's absolutely flying at the top there. The horse can't be any worse than that donkey in charge. Let's not have any name calling, Paul. Obviously, our situation at the moment in a relegation battle, and we hope it's Blackburn or Bristol City or one of the others who go down. But just having a look at the top of the Championship, the playoffs are looking like it's going to be Leeds, Huddersfield, Reading, and another, possibly Sheffield Wednesday, possibly Fulham. Just wondering anybody's thoughts on the potential shake-up in the playoffs and who they see as the most adapt to going up to the Premier League next season. Win Friday and the Champers will be out from Daz. A ladies update. Blues ladies internationals this week, so no Blues ladies game this week. But we had a friendly against Watford and won 4-1. Charlie Welling scored twice, and Coral Haynes scored twice on a return from injury, which was really good news to have her back. And at the time I went on, I think England ladies are playing tonight against Austria in a friendly, and they were winning 1-0, and the goal was scored by Blues ladies striker Ellen White, so she's back in the goals for England, which is a good sign. And next week obviously is the FA Cup semi-final against Chelsea, so massive game next week, really looking forward to that. 90 minutes away from Wembley, so hopefully we can upset the odds yet again against Chelsea and get to that final at Wembley. If hopefully we get rid of Zola, what manager would you have? Tough one. I like. It really depends on whether you're taking someone from another team or you're going for a free agent. At the moment, there's not many free agents out there. I'd look at Dean Smith from Brentford. Obviously, arguable who's the bigger team, who's better at the moment, Brentford or Blues. But Dean Smith would be up there for me, I think, as an option. Villa or Derby will make late runs to the playoffs. Typically, the late form team does well. I think Villa, are a little bit far off now. If they'd held on against Burton, I think I'd have been slightly concerned that they could have made it. But Derby, I wouldn't rule Derby out just yet. Obviously, and Sheffield Wednesday currently occupying that sixth space. As long as it's not Villa, I'm a happy boy for the playoffs. 1-0, 64 minutes is the England score. We shouldn't rely on other teams. We should all go out full throttle now, if not throttle Zola. Yeah, good point. Why is the women's semi-final on at the same day as the men's last game of the season? The women's semi-final is on Easter Monday against Burton. Obviously, so we're at home against Burton, and Blues ladies play against Chelsea in the FA Cup on the same day, which is really frustrating. And the last day of the season is the Bristol City game away, and that day Blues ladies have got the opportunity to play at home at St Andrews against Liverpool. So the two big events at the moment, unfortunately, they are clashing with Blues. It's unfortunate, really. I don't know. Obviously, ideally, they'd want as many Blues fans as possible to turn up, but with FA regulations and everything, they have to abide by those as well. Brian Johnson, I definitely have Dean Smith. Good shout. He's just someone, I think has has impressed me, and Chris Wilder as well at Sheffield United. He's done brilliantly to get them up this season, and got Northampton up the season before that. Needs Zigic and Cadiz back to survive. Yeah, well, hopefully we won't need another Cadiz moment. But if we do, then it's going to be a long, stressful end to the season. Right, I think that will probably just about do it for that for this week. Massive week. The Rotherham game is huge. Backed by a sold-out away attendance, and really we have no option. We've got to go and win now, and hope Blackburn lose. And should that be the case, we can relax and rest easy and be a little bit calmer for the last 4 games of the season. But until Friday, we don't know. So keep right on, and let's hope for the best on Friday. Have a good week, everyone, and see you next week.